With a name like Smucker's, it has to be good.
This isn't the same J.M. Smucker brand from the past.
Is it crushable in a sandwich or a dumpling? I feel like it's a peanut butter and jelly dumpling. You know what I mean?
That just blew my mind.
The 127-year-old company has been refreshed by current CEO Mark Smucker, capitalizing on cultural moments and crafting ads for a modern audience.
Continuing to evolve the brands while still being true to their authentic heritage is really important.
Smucker comes from a long line of Smuckers who have turned what was once a family-operated jam business into a $13 billion publicly traded company. The J.M. Smucker Company has spread far beyond jelly under the leadership of Smucker's dad and uncle, a strategy the 54-year-old is hoping will spark a similar growth trajectory under his leadership. Yahoo Finance went to Orrville, Ohio to get an inside look at how this Smucker plans to take on the next 127 years. This former jam and jelly plant now serves as an innovation center for the company. Evolving products are key to success, according to Smucker, whether homegrown or part of an acquisition, like the company's latest, the 2023 $5.6 billion purchase of Hostess.
Our strategy is fundamentally about leading in growing categories. We had been studying Hostess for a couple years and just really were impressed with the growth that they had achieved and wanted to understand why the consumer continued to look for indulgent treats, and there continued to be a long runway.
Before getting snapped up by Smucker, Hostess led the U.S. packaged cakes market with a 10% share, bringing in $1.3 billion in 2022. Transforming the business via acquisition isn't a new recipe for the company. Over the course of 17 years, Smucker purchased a range of businesses, diversifying its portfolio and increasing the company's stock 500% and positioning themselves as market leaders in multiple categories. Before acquiring Hostess, Smucker left a mark as CEO by refocusing the company portfolio and divesting its baking businesses.
We realized that our growth opportunities were far better served in places like coffee and K-Cups and pet. And so we made some very difficult decisions to totally transform and reshape our portfolio.
The company's stock hasn't grown under Mark Smucker's tenure in the same way it did during the previous generation's leadership. And while revenue is up under Smucker, it is certainly not alone in the massive consumer packaged goods market, with the likes of Nestlé, General Mills, and Kraft-Heinz elbow to elbow with Smucker on store shelves. The CEO is aiming to drive future sales by appealing to both modern cravings and modern culture, a model proven by Uncrustables.
This is the story of the best part of the sandwich and his crust.
In 2023, Smucker began its first national marketing campaign for Uncrustables since acquiring the brand in 1998, looking to capitalize on being in the cultural zeitgeist.
After 20 plus years, it's the first time that we've advertised because it's been all word of mouth, and we were just trying to keep up with demand. Now, what's been great about it is we've gotten all kinds of organic endorsements that we didn't ask for. We had Jason Kelce, we had Drake eating one on stage. We had, actually there's been a couple DJs in LA that have posted about them.
Smucker expects the brand to reach $1 billion in sales in 2026, up from $290 million in 2019.
Making our brands more relevant to things that are happening today is a way that we can connect those brands with today's consumer.
How would you describe the consumer on a macro level right now?
Well, the consumer continues to evolve, right? And so let's talk about coffee for a second. Younger consumers are consuming more cold coffee. They're customizing their beverages at home. So just like we shifted our coffee portfolio to more single serve and K-Cups over time, because that's where the consumer was going, we're now at a point where we're continuing to shift our portfolio to more liquid coffee, cold beverages.
The J.M. Smucker Company began in 1897 as an apple cider and butter business. Created by Jerome Monroe Smucker, Mark Smucker's great-great-grandfather, the business has been passed down through 5 generations of Smucker CEOs, going public in 1959 to grow the business. J.M. Smucker lived on campus in this house built in 1907. The house is still used by the business today.
Jerome Monroe was a Mennonite dairy farmer, and he didn't really like milking cows, so he invented this large cider press. He started making apple butter with that cider press, which shortened the manufacturing time, and started selling them out of a horse-drawn wagon.
I think about coming into the business later in life, but I never really think about it as I'm the fifth generation. I think, well, yeah, my great-great-grandfather, J.M., started it, and it would be great to continue the same tradition.
Despite his last name and early involvement in the business, Smucker wasn't always gunning to be the sixth CEO.
I definitely had this burning desire to see the world, to get farther away from here, in large part to prove to myself that I could do things on my own, that I didn't need to fall back on the family business.
Smucker spent time working in South America and even teaching in Alabama before coming back to work for the family business, eventually overseeing the company's Canadian operations and the acquisition of brands including Pillsbury. Smucker describes the challenge of integrating a business 4 times larger than Smucker north of the border as a light bulb moment.
Trying to integrate those two businesses together, having to transform that business to a more branded growth business. The process of building that team and making those decisions, even the tough ones, made me realize that I'm really passionate, again, about the people and the brands. And that's what I care most about. And in order for me to really make a mark and build a legacy, if I can nurture the culture of our people and modernize these brands, that is really what's going to make this company great.
Modernizing the brands of a 127-year-old staple and institution can come with some internal resistance.
There always have been disagreements. We've done a very good job of keeping those disagreements behind closed doors and letting our employees see a united front. One interesting shift that took place is as we went about modernizing these brands, we had some very restrictive rules, self-imposed, about where we would advertise. We were very conservative in terms of the types of brand taglines or slogans that we would use.
That's why choosy mothers choose Jif.
Taking off those shackles was something that I think we struggled with as a family, but ultimately it was my decision and the decision of this team, and again, pushing these brands and connecting them to culture is really what catalyzed the growth over the last several years.
The business world was rocked today by the merger of the Peanut Butter Group and Chocolatey Corp.
Our brands had become maybe a little bit stale if you think about Folgers being maybe your grandmother's coffee. We had a responsibility to turn up the volume on some of these brands. We actually created a marketing model that is much more focused on the consumer and then making sure that the actual advertising is relevant in today's culture.
We got him.
Just like its Uncrustable strategy, Smucker is refreshing marketing across the board. This includes the company's most historic brands, once rooted in the past.
We have younger consumers. You now have Gen Z. Soon we'll be seeing Gen Alpha. Their tastes will change. And what creates an emotional connection between the brand and the consumer is often something that is newer.
Smucker also values new when it comes to the products themselves.
It's basically a lava cake.
Okay.
So this is brand new. This has just hit the shelves.
It's all an effort to keep a finger on the pulse of what consumers want.
The other brand that is going gangbusters is Cafe Bustelo. So Cafe Bustelo is true to its roots as an authentic Latino coffee, and all of the advertising is always bilingual, so it will always be in Spanish and English. It's really strong coffee. It's the fastest growing coffee brand in the coffee category right now.
Smucker has 3 major brands in the nearly $12 billion at-home coffee market. The company does coffee testing and innovation here in their coffee college.
After we receive the coffee and we've graded it, we try to figure out, or we do figure out, which beans are going to go into which products.
How many cuppings, how many samplings do you do usually a year ballpark?
It's a huge number. We think it's about 30,000 cups per year.
What started as a small business out of a horse-drawn wagon has grown into a portfolio of major brands with 9,000 employees across the country and in its home of Orrville, Ohio.
There are a lot of people that make Smuckers happen on a day in, day out basis. And one of the things that you talk about often is bringing your whole self to work. What does that look like in practice for people?
I think first of all, it just starts with being authentic. I'm a pretty authentic person. You've gotten to know me a little bit. I'm pretty approachable. People know who I am. They know what my interests are. And I think being able to express ourselves and feel comfortable in the workplace as ourselves helps us be well-rounded in the workplace and really do our job better.
As you think about the future of the company, what's the next 5 to 10 years look like for Smuckers?
You know, our strategy is super clear right now. It's, owning and marketing leading food brands and growing categories. And we've, again, gotten so focused over these last 5 years by selling some brands but acquiring new ones like Hostess. We would like to continue that journey, growing this amazing portfolio of brands and hopefully adding to it at the opportune time in the next 5 years.